Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. This is the Board of Selectmen, regular meeting, Town of Canaan, Monday, December 9th, 2024 at 6 p.m. here at Town Hall, 108 Main Street, Falls Village, Connecticut. The agenda, I know that we have some items to be added to the agenda. So the items that came in late from other meetings. Judy, first, I think that you have one thing.
Our meeting with Tom Scott on the garden.
All right, if we could make on Selectmen's report H. And that was the meeting with Tom Scott. The gardens in town. Make that H, and I don't think there'll be anything under new business. I don't think we'll be taking any action on that, just reporting about it. And Chris, I know you had two that came from Thursday's meeting.
Yeah, add to number 8 under new business. Discussion and potentially act on AEA's professional service agreement to follow through on that for the salt shed and the washdown area. I think this would be 2 items then.
Okay, so that would be, would we want to put that I initially under Selectmen's report?
Sure.
And then we make, that's the first one regarding the salt shed.
Yes. So E.
And then it would be E under new business. Now, please keep track of these because we'll vote on them as a whole. Salt shed. And the second one, Chris, I'm sorry,
Is the washdown area.
So-
Engineering for washdown area
At the town garage.
at the town garage.
So we'll make that J under Selectmen's
Oh, yeah, Jay.
report.
For sure.
And if we could make that also F under new business, also to discuss and to have possible action on. Or would ask for a motion. If we have anything else, I'm sorry.
That's it.
Yeah. Anything else to add?
Mhm.
Okay, I would ask for a motion to on the Selectmen's report, make H the meeting with Tom Scott regarding the village gardens here. I AEA salt shed discussion. J AEA town garage wash area discussion. And under new business, EAEA salt shed discussion and possible action. And F under new business, AEA washdown area discussion and possible action. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Public comments? We'll go to the board.
I have one. They bring up policies every time for like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months now.
Absolutely correct.
Will it ever get on the agenda? Is there any progress? I mean, it's a pet peeve of mine. I don't know how we function without town policies.
I can tell you this, that we've been rooting through them, and I'll be quite honest with you, it's the ordinances and those things, even the new handbook that we're promulgating for the employees. There's always a little bit more work to do. So I would rather do something more complete when we get to the ordinances. January, again, we are planning, I believe, for a town meeting to do some of the town ordinances and clean them up. Why not? Why don't we put them on correctly rather than put them on now and correct them later? I know it's taken a number of months to do, but again, being completely transparent here, it's a work in progress. Sorry, you're over my right shoulder.
Craig Marlowe. A request for a new business item potentially. There's a crew in town, working with Lemon Builders. Who are interested in potentially decorating the half dozen or so trees, like between. The corner here up to like Prospect Street, the new trees, if you will, the 10, 15-year-old new trees. With some white lights. Timer off at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. We would request to be able to run power from either 107 or 108, or probably both sides. To light them, and then we can maybe string them together. Maybe we don't need it on this side, maybe we could light it from Jason's new building, he's Redmond's Hall, the new owner of Redmond's Hall. We thought about what a liability issue could be, right? Because he's willing to put it under his company, so do this under Lemon Builders so that we're fully insured. We would bring a lift in, decorate the trees, remove the lift from town, enjoy the holidays, and then hopefully. If it's approved, and it looks nice and we like it, that the town can maybe take over in the following years, or it could stay as a private endeavor, but it's kind of just maybe a little incentive to beautify the streets for the holidays.
Well, point well taken, Greg. As a matter of fact, here are the bows and the garland for our poles outside. Okay, and I'm going to defer a little bit to our since we're in discussion here, to our Department of Public Works. Unfortunately, we went to put up banners last week and ended up with one of our town workers, not because of putting up the banners and so on, ending up being injured, and then we haven't had, quite the conducive conditions to do it. So hopefully Wednesday those banners will go up, and the poles.
Wednesday's been poor.
Is it Wednesday or Thursday?
One,
rain all day Wednesday.
Okay, but we talked about it this morning and we're gonna get them up for that. I do not see any potential liability there, and we'll bring it up as business to other business to be presented at the end.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, we'll have a takedown date of January.
February 29th.
Oh,
It's not a leap year. It's not a leap year. Okay.
Whatever.
If you would bring that up, I will ask for that again at the end when we say if there's any other business to come before for us.
I'm confused, I'm sorry.
no, at the end of the.
Bringing up that again. At the end of the meeting, the request, yes.
Number
Okay,
11 on the
number
agenda.
11 on the agenda, after our discussion, any other business to come before the Board of Selectmen, because we didn't include it as an agenda item, so.
We're gonna vote to add it to the agenda, or you could take, I guess my question is, I don't mind that, or can that be acted on tonight, potentially?
Yes,
Perfect.
I would hope so.
See you at 11.
Okay,
You have to add it to the agenda though.
do we have to add it to the agenda, or do we have to?
Yes. You
Okay.
can't switch.
So I would ask the other two selectmen, can we add this to the agenda under the number 11, any other business to properly come before the Board of Selectmen?
So moved, so we word it as decorative lighting.
Proposal for decorative lighting,
Second.
all in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? Okay. All right, Steve, I guess you're up.
Stephen Cochin, East Mountain Road. I noticed, last month on the agenda, we had the sort of administrative assistant or selectman, administrative assistant was on the agenda. You said you were gonna find out some more information about it, but then it wasn't on the agenda this month, so I wanted to ask about the.
I can tell you, Steve, thank you very much for bringing that up. I spoke to several different towns. I had the opportunity to be at the CCM conference this last Tuesday and Wednesday, and I had the opportunity to network with a number of people and trying to get some ideas together regarding what we might do and how we might do it. And I, again, have to tell you, not putting it off or whatever, if you think that I'm procrastinating or dragging my feet, but I want to get all my information together, because as most people know, I'm very deliberate in what I do at the end. So that's where we are.
Thank you.
And thank you. We might do better with the grant writer.
yeah,
All right. Any other comments from the board, Denise? I'm sorry. Because there's a
No,
terrible glare on it. I can't see it from here, so,
no.
okay. Okay, let's move on to approval of pending minutes. Has everyone had the opportunity to look over the November 12th regular meeting minutes?
Yes.
Yeah, I have one comment. On
Well, I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
discussion,
Discussion.
okay, under 8C. I guess it's 9C. 9C is
Oh, the
water testing. Treasurer will provide Chris Kinsella with all the invoices for the water testing. I think the treasurer, I think, was the discussion was the treasurer will provide the board of selectmen with the invoices.
Right, which she has done. She emailed those, or
Yep.
scanned them in and emailed them.
So you want it changed from Chris to the board? Board.
Right.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to amend the minutes.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And now I'll take the motion again.
You gotta vote on the main motion.
That's where I'm going.
Oh, I'm
Take-
sorry. I'm
I'll
sorry.
take a motion to accept the minutes of
yeah,
November
as
as well.
amended, sure, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Denise.
Sorry.
That's okay. Checks and balances. The November 18th, 2024 special meeting minutes,
Motion to accept,
Second.
discussion. The only thing that was, there was a typo. It's at 19 instead of 18 at the top, and I didn't catch that when I posted it.
Oh.
So I would make a motion, or ask it to be amended to 18 rather than 19.
So moved.
second,
All in favor?
aye,
Aye.
So I'll take a motion to accept the minutes.
so moved,
So second.
All in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Okay. The minutes of the November 25th, 2024 special meeting. Take a motion to accept.
motion to accept,
Second.
All in favor?
aye,
The meeting of November 26th minutes, 2024 special meeting minutes. I'll take a motion.
motion to accept,
Second.
All in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Okay. And the December 5th, 2024 special meeting minutes. I'll take a motion to accept.
motion to accept,
All in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Okay.
May I change accept to approve?
Oh, you can change accept.
Okay.
Okay, we have, we are not in receipt of the October treasurer's report, but we are in receipt of the September 2024 treasurer's report. I'll take a motion to receive the treasurer's report, September 2024.
So moved.
second,
All in favor? Opposed?
nay,
Abstentions? No. We have the November 2024 tax collectors report that was emailed to us. I'll take a motion to accept or to receive, I'm sorry, the November 2024 tax collectors report.
So moved.
second,
All in favor?
discussion.
Oh, discussion, go ahead.
Yes, I think for the same reason, that I continue to vote not in favor of accepting the treasurer's report, I want to do the same with the tax report.
Okay, we're receiving it.
Receiving,
Okay, yeah. Okay, so. Okay, so.
there was discussion about the two,
Mhm.
I guess correlating. So I think I would rather the board, for myself, I'd rather the Board of Finance. So,
So the motion we have on the floor is a motion to receive. The
That's not accepting, it's received.
receiving the November 2024 tax collectors report. All,
I think that we've already voted, didn't we? To.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
nah,
I don't have any written or oral communications.
This,
That's
that's on the agenda.
that's on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, the selectmen's report. We are going to enter the second trips grant application cycle. There's been a questionnaire. Thank you, Denise, for putting it out on the forum. I've only received like 3 responses. I don't know.
Emily said there was like 37, 38.
Okay, you may be receiving most of them. I've gotten a couple that have been sent directly to me, and I've only gotten 3. So I'll
So
give.
people had issues and I told them to reach out to you.
Okay. Well, they actually sent me the good ones.
There you go.
Okay, so on that way. The questionnaire for public, the 107 Main Street property lease. We need to set a date for a town hearing, and we'll do that when we get under new business. Again, under 7-163E. Anytime we lease, sell town property, what have you, we have to have a town hearing. And that's one of those hearings where you have to announce it 15 days out and no less than 2 days before. We're kind of in a catch-22 because of holiday season, but we need to sharpen our pencils and look at when we can do that.
Does that go in front of the P and Z also?
No, they will have to go to the P and Z separately. Okay. But I would like a rep from the P and Z to be there for that hearing.
I'm sure there'll be representatives there.
Okay. This evening we have in Recreation Committee, we have actually 2 things going on. And with it's number 1 with regrets, we take this, but receive this, I should say, but Dan Glass, Ted, this was written to the chairman. Please accept this letter of resignation. Unfortunately, his work and travel schedules have now been too unpredictable, and he hasn't been in the town during the week enough to even attend the meetings. He looks forward to volunteering where and when needed and seeing everyone around town. And now thank you from Dan Glass. And again, receipt of this with some regrets, but very glad for the work that he did. The second part of this, if you will, is the reappointment of Melissa Lopes and Dan Carr. And I will just read the chairman's email to us. Good afternoon. Writing to let you know that the Recreation Commission has unanimously put forth and approved the recommendation to reappoint Dan Carr and Melissa Lopes for 3 more years on the Recreation Commission. So we'll act on that as we get down. Last but not least, the holiday extravaganza that we're going to have the 14th. And just to tell you what would be happening that night, 4 p.m. inside the Center on Main, community holiday music and readings. Baked goods will be for sale to benefit the Kellogg's 8th grade class, 5 p.m. Town Green annual tree lighting with Santa coming down Main Street. I think he'll be on a fire truck, Tim?
Probably.
Okay. Then immediately following the tree lighting, visit and take photos with Santa inside the Center on Main and enjoy complimentary popcorn and hot cocoa while you wait. Luminaries on the green. We invite the Falls Village community to help light up the green with luminaries to honor those that we have lost. Luminaries will be available inside the Center on Main. We welcome you to write the names of your loved ones, family members, and friends who are unable to be with us at the tree lighting, and we will display them on the green. Please note that this is weather dependent. For our minutes, Denise, there's a copy of it.
Thank you.
Okay. Vision Zero automated speed enforcement cameras. I've looked over the ordinances from 2 towns that have been generated, and again, we continue to look into it. As I was saying before the meeting, we will be receiving the equipment, and I'll be working with our DPW manager to set it up. I can tell you that when I attended again the CCM conference, we had a whole seminar on the speed enforcement cameras, and there is a lot to it, a lot that has been written into the statute, some of which would benefit a small town like us. So we plan to look into it to see if it is something feasible for our town. In speaking with our next subject is the capital plan. We will be setting a date with the chairman of the Board of Finance and have a workshop with our department heads and commission chairs. What we plan for our department heads is doing it during the day, a work day, and our commission chairs one evening, but we have to settle on a date to do it. It looks like right now, for our department heads, it'll be either the 16th or the 18th of this month. And the commission chairs, we just need to get everyone together and see what we can do. Again, quickly, the CCM conference report, just to give you a quick report on that. A lot of networking and a lot of finding out that the problems that we have in our town are not unique to us. The one big thing that we have talked about is how much funding will be available in the future under grants and so forth, as time moves on here, and to see what the federal government will be offering in the future. So a lot of discussion about that. The lighting at 107 Main Street driveway, we have one of the local electricians who I was talking again to today. That he will be down here at night to take a look at it. Whatever we do will be the dark sky compliant. I will give to the P&Z the name of a contractor that we actually made contact with at CCM, who does nothing but dark sky compliant lighting. So thank you. Remind me to give you that book. Okay. Old business. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Tom Scott. Thank you. When I didn't have it written down. Thank you, Judy. Judy, I'm going to ask you to address that quickly regarding Tom Scott and who's done work on our gardens.
Tom has met with us and come up with a few ideas out here. One is to eliminate the roses from the steps to the inn and probably convert it back to lawn over there. And then on the other side is to remove the roses and put in a little bit more practical, easy care garden there. And then we want to get together with the village gardeners. I don't know if you've heard it from anybody.
I have not reached out to them yet until we had something a little bit more solid, but we'll be doing that.
And I did, Tom had asked about, I had brought up about maybe the possibility of the BOAG helping us with this, and I reached out to them. They said they would like to help. Their problem is they have like hour time blocks. So maybe if they just had a specific thing that they had to do in that time period, and otherwise they can do longer blocks like during spring break, and like they did when they worked on the those.
Okay.
So they would come during the time off and help out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Chris, I'm going to turn to you for the salt shed.
Okay, so we requested Allied to do some work for us, and he came through with a professional service agreement for both the salt shed and the wash down area. Pretty straightforward. The wash down area is
I'm going to ask you to address the salt shed first. Please.
okay. The salt shed is to implement some cost saving ideas that the Bridge and Infrastructure Committee came up with, and enter into the phase one, which would be the design and development phase of this professional service agreement. And then the same goes for The washdown area, is broken down into, uh, four separate phases, existing conditions phase, design development phase, town approval phase, and construction documentation phase. And I think we would, the committee has, suggested we go with the first two, the existing conditions phase and the design development phase for the walkdown area.
And we consulted with our DPW manager regarding both of these, correct?
Yeah, he was at,
Yeah, he was at the meeting, yeah.
Okay. Unfortunately, I wasn't there, but, okay. Funding for this, we would look for through,
Well, um. The salt shed has its own,
that's non-recurring capital fund.
non-recurring capital.
So we'll have to
funds.
go to town meeting regarding that.
Yeah, and the washdown area. We have an environmental cleanup reserve, that has, more than enough money in it to cover the expenses.
I
of the
don't,
washdown
I don't
area.
recall, I know you have it there in front of you, is that a non-recurring capital fund, the environmental?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so for both those things, we're going to have to go to town meeting in order to secure funding for it, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that we'll need to get on the town meeting.
So if I can just say that, Tim and the crew up there do a real good job, maintaining the equipment, and, it's probably $1.5 million worth of equipment up there and more. And, part of that maintenance, you have to be able to wash things down. The state shut them down on that, and, it's not fair. I mean, to effectively maintain that equipment, you gotta be able to clean it. And, so, we, with our committee and with Tim's help, we've come up with, we think a feasible plan to, give him that. And like follow through.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll move on to old business, 35 Railroad Street update. We're still moving along. We had a meeting last Thursday. We're going to have another meeting this Thursday. Economic development, Judy, I'm going to turn to you for a moment.
okay,
I'd say probably the biggest big news.
yeah, we do have a tenant for the, cafe space, the former cafe space. We voted in executive session last Thursday, was that Thursday?
Well, we voted outside of executive session to
Yes.
accept it.
Yeah,
After
and that
executive
is, Liz and Howie Ives from Salisbury. They both have extensive background in the food industry. So we're very excited to have them on board. So we'll need to, set up a town meeting, which you've got, a town hearing. You've got that on the agenda.
Mhm.
They are, coming up with some wonderful plans. She's done extensive research. She's already got lined up all food sources and her plans, and she's been meeting with attorneys and that, so. It's nothing that they're taking lightly. We had 19 inquiries. I showed the cafe to 7 of those. I showed the cafe probably 5 of those multiple times. And then it was down to 2 candidates, and they were both very good, but the Ives family is definitely the one that has the most experience. So I think they're gonna be great for the town.
Just to piggyback on that, currently we have our town attorney looking at a lease, and once we get that letter of commitment from the Ives attorney, then we'll move forward in drawing that up for us. Again, we'll get down to new business and we'll look at a date, see if we can come up with a date.
And the only other thing on economic development, I guess you could say, is our first Saturdays in Falls Village. So the first Saturday of every month, we have lots of activities going on between the Hunt Library, the Historical Society, Center of Maine, and the multiple little businesses, Bunny Williams and that, different activities we kicked off last month with, the Cannonball Run was that day, so we had a lot of people in town. And, this past Saturday, we had a lot of people in town. We hope to be doing this every first Saturday, continuing. It's great.
Okay. Old business, the affordable, and I keep this on here, old business housing, plan task force. I actually, am waiting for some information from the town of Fairfield that they're supposed to send me. They gave a fantastic, presentation about, workforce / affordable housing and how to put together a planning task force. And, I just would like to get that and, be able to present that at our next Board of Selectmen meeting. Wi-Fi at the transfer station, I now have Comcast involved, Xfinity, if you will, to see if they can give us a better price there. Cobble Road, Culvert and Bridge. The culvert we are still working on. We're going to have to look and see how we are going to finance that in the future, because that's a 50%. The bridge on Cobble Road, we've already put in our application through the federal government, or as I should say, it's being prepared as we speak by Cardinal Construction. So we'll let you know when that's going in. There was some question about the bridge on Canaan Mountain, whether or not we could do the work on that. It doesn't rise or lower to the level that we would get 100% funding on it. It's not in that much disrepair as opposed to the Cobble Road Bridge. So without that 100% funding, I think we'll sit on it a little bit longer. I don't want to take it too far down the road. Moving on to new business, tax rebates and consideration approval of suspension lists. I just need to, I don't believe. No, we do not have anything in the way of tax rebates or anything on the suspension list. Okay, Pete, 107 Main Street town hearing. Do we want to look?
So how soon can we do that?
Well, I would like to just get everything in place with, insofar as our letter of intent from, the eyes. Yeah, yes,
If it's okay with you to interject, I just, I'm struggling, because I know they have to go for P and Z approval as well.
yes.
Is there
Comes out.
something that we want to do the town meeting for, I'm just trying to save a step. Is there a reason to go one? I sort of feel like, I don't know what's being proposed, but it came to the planning and zoning, they wanted something different. And then if that, because they need approval, right, of planning and zoning to move forward.
Yeah.
with the plan.
Actually, a very good point. When is your next meeting, or can you schedule a special meeting?
I'm sure we'll, for this, we'll definitely do a special.
So,
September, we have one next Tuesday, but that's a pretty full meeting, but we could do another one.
so I'll tell you
I'm
what,
not sure what you're thinking about town meeting, were you thinking, try to get it by the end of the
It's
year?
a-
we would like,
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, we'd like to get it by the end of the year, but the fact of the matter is, we're getting into the holiday season,
Yeah.
and that's going to be difficult, and I don't want to make it too difficult for even people to attend, but I'd like to get it going. So here's what I would ask, and a point very well taken. If you could get it on the P and Z radar. Okay, and then once we get it there, because I still want the letter of intent, and I still want to have the actual contract. Lease contract
Yeah,
before we go to town meeting, so perhaps we
so she's
should.
meeting with her attorney tomorrow morning.
All right, but then it's going to take some time for us to draw it up, so this week is probably a done deal.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll look at when the P and Z more than likely, or in doing this, they should see them first before we have the town meeting, so we can say we have approval. So would we like to just table this and then call a special meeting once they meet with the P and Z and we get some sort of determination from them? You'll probably be able to make the determination that evening.
She has already spoken to Janelle.
Yeah, so, what I'll offer is, I'll speak to Janelle in the morning, and maybe we'll just try to get it on the agenda.
Okay,
I mean, recall, but we'll just, I know how important this is. So.
yes, it's very, very important. So I, oh, go.
The only thing I have to say is there are a lot of moving parts.
Yes.
And, I don't think, to try and get it this year, I think it's gonna be a stretch.
Right, but I'm thinking if we can get those moving parts in place, hopefully, and I would make a motion right at this moment to actually table the discussion on setting a date until such time as we have those other moving parts in place. And then we can call a special meeting of the Board of Selectmen and then select a date, so then we can go out and announce it. I'm just a little afraid that if we start tomorrow or Wednesday, and we don't have any of these steps completed, then it's all for naught, and I would rather have everything on the plate and be able to present it to the town and tell them, this is it, and this is where we're going.
Me too.
And so, again, I know that, and again, kudos to Judy and you for moving this forward as we've been able to do, and I know we're all very anxious to do this, but let's not put the cart before the horse. So let's get those moving parts and then present it.
So is that a motion to table?
I'll take that if you're making that motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to table.
The only discussion is that we do it once again, like I say, once we know we have all our moving parts in place, I'll make that motion.
Second, but that is
All in-
to set a date.
Got that?
No.
And we got too many seconds.
Okay, my second motion was that was based on my discussion that we get everything in place before we place it. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have one motion made and seconded to.
Right, and then we
Table.
went to discussion.
Table.
And you didn't vote on that one.
We didn't vote on that one.
I make a motion to table the,
You made the
Table.
motion, Judy seconded, but you didn't vote during
Is that a
discussion.
vote to
Right,
table?
okay, I'm sorry. Vote to table. All in favor? Aye.
so I think we know.
We know where we are.
Yeah.
Right.
After
We still-
after the 17th, there may,
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah,
we
is
may
trying
have to go to, maybe Zoom for me to be,
If you show me your leg up in the air, I'm okay with that, Chris. We can move forward. Don't worry, we'll take.
Trying for 2 weeks.
That's okay.
Just put it.
You just set up the camera, Eileen.
Weeks, no drive.
That's all. Don't worry, we'll get it done.
Lee Baldwin, what did he say, a week?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He says, okay. Moving along.
Lee said I could.
So Greg will let us know with
The capital plan workshop set dates again, for our discussion, I'm going to wait until, our chairman from the Board of Finance, but we're again looking at this, first one being the 16th or the 18th. And it will be here during the day, for the, department heads. And again, we're going to just have to look at another day to have, commission heads. The Recreation Commission, I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Dan Glass with regrets.
second.
I,
All in favor?
Okay,
Again, he's been a great help to the Rec Commission. Unfortunately, his work does not allow him to be a really active part any longer. I'll take a motion to, or I will make the motion to reappoint Melissa Lopes and Dan Carr for another 3-year term as members of the Recreation Commission.
second.
do we, have a date to set on that?
Their terms end November 30th, so it would be
Right.
effective December 1, 2024 till November 30th, 2027.
All in favor?
I,
All right. Um, oh, yeah, yeah.
You're done. Okay.
I had to say, what am I going? Oh, I did. Um. I will make a motion. To send. To town meeting, because the funds are coming out of our non-recurring capital fund. The, proposal by AEA regarding our salt shed. Yes.
I think you have to recommend it to the board. of Finance,
Well,
right?
we'll be recommending it to the Board of Finance, but then we would set the meeting.
Yeah,
So what I'm going to say is we'll recommend it to the Board of Finance, at which time, at their acceptance, it will go to the Board of Selectmen to set the town meeting.
I think, Dave, we want to
Indicate.
indicate.
Please do, because I was
it
gonna
would
ask
be
you,
Phase one for, $7,500.
yes, I'm gonna ask you to clarify that for our motion.
Okay, so,
We didn't, no, we just did this phase
right,
one. Yeah.
right, so, how does he have it now?
recommend to the Board of Finance to recommend to town meeting up to $7,500 for phase one of ADA proposal.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm gonna let you make the second motion there, Chris, because you have the paperwork directly in front of you.
Make a motion to. Recommend to the Board of Finance.
To recommend the town
The
meeting.
recommended town meeting. AEA's proposal, phase. 1 and 2. No, phase 2.1 and 2.2. For a total of $4,500,
Up to.
up to $4,500
For, what is it?
for,
Wash something?
wash. It would be the town garage wash down area.
Thank you.
Do we have to indicate what reserve or fund it comes from?
But we will do that.
Okay.
The Board of Finance will, but you don't know the reserve, the account numbers. do you?
No, no.
I can add them now.
Yeah, we'll add the, I don't have them right in front of me.
Second it.
All in favor?
I,
Okay. That takes care of the new business. Discussion, solar, you have a solar meeting coming up, Chris?
Yeah, Wednesday, 5 o'clock.
Okay. And the Bridge and Infrastructure Committee?
We met this past Thursday and we reviewed Allied's proposals here. And a brief discussion about the Cobble Road culvert.
All right. And any other business to come before the Board of Selectmen? Mr. Marlowe, please.
Give me to start from the beginning, what we proposed, or should we?
Why don't you give us the end of it? I have you
Yeah.
captured that, Denise?
Oh, okay.
yes.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Did you capture what he
The request.
the request,
No,
or do we have it read again? Okay, read it again.
Alright,
we can play.
group of citizens, working with Lemon Builders, request the approval from the Board of Selectmen, if it's your will, to decorate the half dozen or so trees, I didn't count them, I'm guessing, between the corner of Main and Railroad and Prospect Street. White lights on timers, set up, sooner than not, and with removal early January if weather cooperates. And while we're out, Tim, if there's any other thing that might help with it, through people, I'm sure we would be happy to assist.
Are they providing the lights?
We'll provide lights,
Okay.
lights and timers and cords, It is a citizen group, it's not just Lemon Builder, so if anybody wanted to donate to it, I'm sure that it would go to the good cause of this.
Mhm.
Well, I think cords on the sidewalk or anything, right?
I would say no, I mean, it's gonna have to cross with a tree somehow, but.
So we do have power on the pole,
No, that's, of course not.
not hooked up, but in the future, we do have power on the pole, but they just need to be finished hooked up in the box.
I'm going to ask for some input from our DPW manager. And not to put you on the spot, but I know I'm putting you on the spot, so I do apologize. The one thing that I would ask the particular group is prior to looking at anything up, and this from me. I know that we do coordinate with the DPW manager regarding it and when we'll be doing it and so on and so forth, because. Unfortunately, putting on my other hat here, my old hat, we're going to have some sort of traffic direction or lights or whatever for safety. And it does bear in mind, and I hate to be the fly on the wall here, but so to speak, or the stick in the mud. But I am concerned about safety, OSHA, so on and so forth. Which I know you are also, so again, I have no problem with it happening. I'm speaking for myself, and please, I would ask the other selectmen to speak also after me. But I want to make sure that it's a very well coordinated effort with our town DPW, just for safety's sake.
I will tell you that I'm not at all enthused about doing it myself that year. I don't have the equipment to go up on.
Right.
And when I did say
And,
town,
I'm working on roads, not Christmas lights.
and when I said town, I didn't mean the highway department.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, I know,
Other groups in town.
I know in the past what we've had is we've had people donate. I know I've donated for wreaths that had been put up in the center of town, and all the garland and the bows and all things like that. Donated the funds to do it and so forth. So I have no problem in getting into the Christmas spirit. Okay. But I would hope that if we were able to do it, we would be looking at this week. Because we do have the extravaganza. I will now defer to the other two selectmen. I did enough speaking here, so.
Can you help me with when is the stuff?
This
Saturday.
So my only thing is that, we're hoping next year to get that power straightened out, so it's hooked into the box out here. And we were hoping that we would be able to light the poles, so maybe those lights could actually go on the poles. And they're actually able to plug in there too,
Next year or this year?
hoping next year.
Next year.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Okay.
I think it's Tim's concern is, and obviously, everyone's concern is cords in the sidewalk and people can trip on them, but. Wrapped
So
up
that may,
Maybe
snow
we
blower,
could make some sort of, I'll think more better.
Put a mat over them or something.
Or make us tripod or something for him to go.
I gotta plow them too.
Overhead.
Yeah, it's true.
To go overhead.
let's
We
just,
don't want to be a
let's
thorn in Tim's side.
just make sure it can clear all the equipment. And that's why I asked you to work very closely with Tim regarding this, because we've worked closely with Tim in getting the bows and the garland and so forth. And over the years, we've had the banners, which I think have served us well. Maybe I'll be looking at the Board of Finance somewhere down the road to get newer ones as these wear out. But
Great, yeah,
Okay.
we'll see what we get done.
so, Chris, do I hear a motion from the floor regarding accepting this proposal from, and do you have a name for the group?
It was, it started with Paul Village, we reached out to Jason being a new property owner, so it's just, holiday chatter.
Holiday Chatter.
so moved.
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So you're giving permission for
The Holiday Chatter.
Chatter Group to install white lights on the trees out front.
Right, but
As long as-
Lights.
no blinking lights, no blinking colored lights. That's it. All right, you're done. No, wildlife, and again, working with the DPW, I want to capture it in there also, Denise, that to coordinate with the DPW manager, that, while they're doing it.
Got it.
Okay,
Did we vote? Not yet.
yes, all in favor?
Aye.
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 That's it. To adjourn?
No,
No, any other public comments? No, yeah, no.
Have another one, I forgot, I wrote down. Concerning the salt shed and wash area, super needed, it's been needed for a long time.
Yes.
Been saving for a decade or over a decade. The point that I would say or ask is, has there been any discussion about building these two things on the town farm property? That comes from the thought that maybe someday that the village property could be repurposed for another use. So we know town farm is, the transfer station is gonna be there forever, and even, well. Maybe I'll leave the garbage out of this discussion.
Yeah, I think.
But that property, long town owned with a dedicated purpose is to have it on that property so that you spend the money once. And because if we spend that money on that property now, and you want to repurpose it for village use, it'd be that much less enticing at that point.
Point well taken.
Is that consistent with the,
EOCD.
PLCD?
I'm just concerned that they would have to take everything over there in the meantime,
Yeah,
Which we do.
salt shed and everything, so it'd be driving.
it's kind of a full circle thing. I understand that, and I totally get it. This is going back in time. I had that. If the town garage was to be moved to the town farm property, would it be an inconvenience time wise to get anywhere? But at least at that point, I didn't pretend, but the answer was no, not really amount to a big difference. So I realized. Splitting it, being all in one spot, but it's just something to at least talk about today. That's my.
Okay. Thank you. Anything from the board?
No, I have one though. Quick one. The proposals for 107.
By yourself if you public comment.
Well, I've got several names later. Denise Jones, but on the 107 cafe,
Yes.
I think it's great. The proposals that were discussed, even the ones rejected and documents received, all have to be public documents.
They will.
So will they be posted on the website or?
The only other one at the end, there was only two. There was the Ives and another person. So I can give you those proposals.
I'm happy to put them on the website. They just have to be before the public hearing.
Yeah. Got those?
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, Chris.
Motion we're done.
Okay. All in favor? Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate you being here. Hello, Roxanne. Good to see you here.
Yeah.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order and
Hey, Jen.
John. So. Do we need to see 1, 2, 3, 4?
You can see Carl.
Let's see Carl.
Yes.
So we'll take a motion to see
Smooth.
Carl.
Second.
Second.
Tom, did you make that one?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? All right. So Carl, and we have public comment.
Thank you. I'd like to be heard on the question of capital funding for the town of Canaan.
State your name, so everybody can.
Am I okay?
What's your name? State your name.
I'm from Timlock. I live on Route 63, 1254 Route 63. Adequate for. I understand there's some confusion, or at least I think it could be more clear regarding what provisions there are in the town of Canaan for capital funding. To give you a little background of the institutional history, I go back about 35 years when we had none. And furthermore, it was very difficult at that time to advance the idea that we might have more money even in our general fund than was absolutely going to be spent in a given fiscal year. Whereas if there was excess money, it was considered in the old Yankee way of thinking that it was overtaxation. And the idea that there would be a single amount of money which was undesignated for anything by command was considered something that was called slush fund. And so when it was desired to try to accommodate these things to begin with, although this is off the subject of capital spending, but a general fund balance, that took some talking because at that time the standard was 5%, and to work up to 5%, the idea would be so that at the beginning of the fiscal year, when the taxes for the current fiscal year at the beginning of July was not on hand and would not be on hand for up to a month or so, and the exact amount of money that had been required for the previous fiscal year was spent, that means we were insolvent for a day in the worst case. And so that we would have to borrow money to get through the first month or two until the tax money came in. And so we were able to be able to make the case that it was reasonable to have a certain amount of money on hand, so we would not draw down to something approaching insolvency at the end of the fiscal year. And we're able to build that 5%. The rule of thumb at that point of 5% is no longer the case. A combination of inflation and other contingencies that arise push it more towards 10% and above. But that's pertaining to the general fund. With regard to the question of funding, the way it is done in most towns, money is put into an undesignated pot, which invited the description in our town in the old Yankee language of a slush fund. And that then was targeted in a plan to spend, but that was not a directive of how it was to be spent. It was a schematic that was probably, so there was no commitment to do that. And that was not looked at favorably in town to have that kind of money, plus which the statute permits that account to be funded by something called procurement, which was considered a synonym for grab by some people. And that provided that a board of finance could procure up to 4 mils worth of funds every year to put in this undesignated fund, which was referred to at the time as a slush fund. So the bargain with the people for how we would do this was what we do now. And so if to say that we don't have a capital funding plan, in a manner of speaking, is true. A plan is a proposal to do something where we had a plan and we executed it. So we have a capital funding system, which is in place by line item for specific purposes. And each of those purposes is a function of having been recommended, requested by the Board of Selectmen, recommended by the Board of Finance, and then funded progressively approved by the Board of Finance, and then funded by recommended amounts over a period of years, so that we would be able to accomplish capital needs as they arose. And with respect to what other towns may do with a 5-year plan, this in no way at that time, and I don't know about now, but no way was no way forward looking into the future. For example, our trucks in the Public Works Department last between 20 and 25 years, and the time in service of them is arranged so that the fleet doesn't all come up at once. And so that's where that money goes. The roof project was done over across the street. I think it was appropriated more than 17,000, but cost 17,000. That money didn't come from the general fund, and it didn't disappear out of thin air. It came from where it belongs in an account for 106, 107 Main Street, Mr. Barger. And your board approved it, recommended it, approval already having existed in the previous legislative act of a town meeting. So that was the bargain we had with the people. We weren't going to do it the way the statutes permitted us to do it, but didn't require it, and the way every other town may do it. In fact, I think there's no other town that does it the way the way we do it, and the only entity I know of as a public agency that does it more similar to us is the Torrington Area Health District. And again, that's our bargain with the people. And I got a copy of the documents that you get every month. So this system is in front of you every month. And I see that here is a long list, which frankly looks to me a little bit like a laundry list, as opposed to the thing that was replaced with by your board, which had greater detail and even includes, in most cases, the cycle of disbursements for the intended purposes. So I'm at a loss to know why this detailed blueprint, more like a blueprint, would be better than this laundry list, but I'm not on the board and that's your business. I think I've covered it all. Are there any questions? So
I have one.
yes, sir.
What prompted you to make these remarks, Lou? You've got two pieces of paper in your hand and.
I requested them.
Right.
I had heard, it had been told to me, and I know, I see no reason why I have to say who told it to me. I don't.
No, I don't want to know the source, but.
That there was some confusion as to whether or not we had a capital spending plan, and we don't. We have a structure.
Right.
So I wanted to explain it, but also I wanted to make it clear that this was a compact that we made 35 years ago or so. I don't know exactly how many years ago. Time flies when you're having fun. So
Do you have any objection to us forming a plan?
I think you've got. You think
I
you've
mean,
got.
we have monies in reserve accounts, but we don't have any
But-
plans about how to spend them.
This is yours as much as it is the people's. You can amend it. You can add items to it. You can remove items from it. In fact, that's your job to see that this is up to date. And if it requires additions, it will go to the people for appropriation, but it's your initiative upon a request from the selectmen or without a request on your own best judgment as assessment of the needs that you may see that the selectmen don't. That's your job. It's your job to keep this current. It's a system, not a plan.
Well, I think we know that. So is there something about having a plan that bothers you? Because if you could just be succinct about that.
I don't know what you're saying.
Do you have an objection to the board forming a plan about how the monies, the pace at which the monies in the various
So
reserve
if you're
accounts,
going to change it.
the pace at which the monies, well, I think that's what we're entertaining now is a
Well,
proposal.
it's your job to propose these things. So why would I object to that?
Well, I don't know. That's why I ask you. You seem like you've got an objection.
I have no, the only thing I object to is breaking the bargain we made with the people. That's the only thing. And I think it speaks for itself. What the difference between what the statute permit and what probably every other town or jurisdiction in the state does and what we do. And I think I made it clear that that was a bargain that I believe to be required to be honored as a bargain with the people. And I've heard nothing to say that your board was planning on disbanding the system and changing to what every other town does. But with respect to what you say as to revising this, that's your job. Revise away as you see best.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a comment. I like the other report too, better, Lou. But
What?
I like the first report you had better as well, but that wasn't at the request of the Board of Finance to change it. That's what they've been presented with.
Okay, look, I'm not gonna get involved
I'm
in
just letting you
internal
know.
communications between your board.
I like the other one too.
Yeah, well, you have every right to say you want it.
I don't, I just,
And I don't mean you personally, excuse me. Your board is entitled to have relevant information presented in the way that suits you. And I have no opinion on what you should do about that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll say goodnight then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Any other public comment? And we will move on. We have planning and zoning this evening.
to discuss.
Lou's gonna represent it.
All you,
We've done already.
all you.
So, thank you for inviting the planning and zoning. I have Eileen, Stephen, myself, Doug, Fred Laser, who's just recently, no longer my co-chair or single chairman for decade. Was hoping to come tonight, but he has another meeting, for work that he needed to attend. So hopefully I can fill those shoes. He had much more institutional gear knowledge on the finances, but I'll do what I can. So I guess you want me to just kind of go on a little bit and then see what you guys want to talk about from there? Is that kind of the game plan of how this might look? Well,
I mean,
shocking facts, right? So we're about 42% of the way through the fiscal year. So far, we're about on average, 27, 28, 29% spent. So we're well within the plans. Planning and zoning is a little unique in its expenditure of some items, because we don't have a set schedule or idea of what's going to be presented to the town, requests for the towns that may require attention. So, you know, as a board, historically, when it comes time to set the budget, we sort of always try to take a look at what we had spent that year, what may be coming down the pipe that we either know about or heard about or think may happen through the state. An example of that would be like the marijuana change in the criminalization, what have you, what that might look like, whatnot. We didn't really know at that point, but we knew it would be coming forth in a year. So, you know, that would be some of the discussion, a quick example of what may cost extra money beyond the normal vacations and planning that we would go through. I think, you know, going over the changes from last year, from what was requested to what was voted on and passed the town. Really, there's two lines, right? There's the planning. I'm sorry, I have it highlighted and then I stapled everything together and now I'm struggling to find it. Oh, it's on top, that's all. Really, we have the consultant, engineer, planner line and the attorney line. We're getting by on both of those. I'd like to spend just a minute to explain from our perspective and then from there, wherever you guys would like to bring the discussion. The attorney line, I kind of look at it like the Board of Selectmen, in my personal opinion. You just don't know when you're going to get that attorney, but I understand where it was coming from because it's been quite a while since we have used an attorney. It's not a big amount of money, a $2,000 line item, which is, you know, realistically in our spending plan, a rounding error. But if we need it, I think that we would just come to your board and say, this is our situation, this is what we needed. It seemed like you moved through the refunding the Board of Selectmen for their expenditures. I would think we're in a much more litigious potential liability than they are. But ultimately, I know that we can work together, and if we need a legal something emergency, I'm sure your board would make a special exception to me. And, you know, at that point, it would be important for you to know anyhow, it'd be important for the Board of Selectmen in the planning and zoning to work collaboratively with all of them. So I think, you know, full circle, I think that if anybody should have a legal fee, it might be planning and zoning, but that's my personal opinion, and I know that we can work around that either way. Consultant, engineer, and planner. When I first became co-chair, I met with Janelle Mullen, our zoning enforcement officer and town planner. And kind of started at that point looking over her bills, which us as a commission had always been taken care of by the chair, which at that point was just Fred Laser. started asking some questions, looking a little closer at the detailed billing and having discussion with Janelle. And this is just a meeting between chairman and CEO. So it hasn't got to the full commission yet. But next fiscal year, I would really like to take planner and zoning enforcement officer and put them in one line. Because we work between the two. But it's so complicated because we're planning and zoning. So to break that out, she might be wearing both hats in one. Dealing, if you will, for, I don't know, I'm lacking a better word. So since she carries both, I think it would be a more transparent expenditure of what Janelle is costing the planning and zoning. And that would free up the consultant and engineer, which is really what's missing, or which was removed, I believe, roughly from this approved spending plan. And what is a consultant? What's the engineer used for? They're not used often. It's kind of like the attorney. But an example that comes to mind, because I'm just speaking about it recently, was when the town fought a proposed cell tower, and the planning and zoning used both those line items as a consultant to help with some. It's so many years. I'm going to trade exactly because a lot of engineering to show how steep slope, grade, runoff, and all that. You know, something we know about, but technical expertise. That's money we wouldn't know that we needed until that application hit. And that's why that line item went to, you know, in years past it was lower, and then it gradually jumped up, or it actually pretty quickly jumped up. Because we still had our planning that we had in that line, but we added up because our planning costs went up. It's a different world than what planning and zoning was when I joined in 2008. We have a different person in that office of CEO planner than what we've had in the past, meaning much higher school educated. And this is by no means anything about past people that held that office, but she has a lot of experience, a lot of professionalism that she's bringing to the town of Canaan, which has been, I'm very impressed with what she brings our board and what she brings at home. And, you know, the state, if anybody deals with the state, it gets a little bit more complicated all the time. And working in other towns, she can bring ideas to our town, so we're not reinventing the round wheel, or if there's already a round wheel, don't reinvent it. What's needed through the state, the statutes, whatever the newest, latest requirement is. You know, she's a part author of legal and land use legality or something in Connecticut with Ziska, which is a renowned specialist in the area. So she brings with her high qualifications, costs more money than what that office cost in the past. And I think it's the best investment in our town will make.
She's acting in both roles, the zoning enforcement and the planner. That's what she's acting in the two roles.
Correct.
And then so if you had a project that came up, like the parking plan or something like that, and you needed a consultant or an engineer, would it be your expectation that you would go to somebody other than Janelle for that?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me a little more.
If needed, right? And engineering for sure.
For sure. Yeah. And I'm not sure.
If needed, yes. So to go along, yes.
So what planning functions would you expect to be calling on Janelle to do, other than something over and above what the standard CEO duties are?
Yeah. And that's a great question, John. And that's why I brought some of the invoices. So I know the latest invoice, a lot was a request from the Board of Selectmen to look at the trailer ordinance. And whether it should be an ordinance or whether it should come under planning and zoning regulations. We have one current situation and possibly two that have presented to the town. So that's really not enforcement, because it's right now, it's a ordinance under the Board of Selectmen, but the Board of Selectmen asked for Janelle's opinion on it and helped me look. So she had worked really at the request of the Board of Selectmen, brought it to the planning and zoning with maybe her opinion. She hasn't told us ever what to do, but in her opinion, this is what this gives you, this is what this gives you, and these are the parameters that it can fall between.
Okay. Do you have any sense, I forget what the ZEO line was last year, $14,000-15,000, right? So if you added planning to that, what would it come up to? You know, in your estimation, just looking at it.
25,000.
So $10,000 for the planning function roughly.
Yeah,
Okay,
which is already in that line. It would just put the two together.
right. So you'd take 10 out of the consulting engineering, slide it over to the ZEO,
Well, right now it's consulting engineer planner,
right?
so I think we would, and this is all preliminary, but
Sure.
thinking it would be better and help with transparency, honestly, to put a CEO/planner
Okay.
and then have consulting engineer.
Right, but the sum of those two is, you know, round numbers.
Of 25,000.
Right, so, okay, I think, as I recall, the proposal for all three, planning, zoning, planning, consulting and engineering was around 20,000. I think we chopped it in half. Yeah. Okay, well, this isn't the time to get in a budget debate. You know what we were about then. We're trying to save money. So we'll try to speak for myself. We'll try to save money again. So I think the burden is to persuade us that it's really money well spent, because I don't know if it's true or not, but there were rumors floating around that she was being paid $100 an hour to sit at the planning and zoning committee meetings,
It'd be $90 an hour.
or $90 an hour.
Information.
Right,
And if she's sitting at planning and zoning meetings, yes, she partakes in those meetings.
right,
She reports, she helps prepare the agendas, she will do the research so that you come to our meetings, which are often or always very, and she'll render her legal, professional opinion. I didn't mean legal.
right.
Professional opinion to help us out along the ways and keep us from going too deep down a rabbit hole that's in the wrong direction and or out of our purview, so that we minimize our exposure while maximizing our efforts.
That's only when you feel that's needed.
Correct.
It's not every meeting.
That's correct. She's at every meeting.
She's at every meeting.
Yeah.
Which
Which zoning enforcement report is part of every agenda and has been for.
But I mean, she's being paid every meeting.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I say,
Guiding at
I'll
the
open
same
it up
time.
to my fellow members, but I can't remember a meeting where she ever not called
Well,
on.
we all, every zoning enforcement officer has been paid to come to our meetings because it is part of their hourly responsibilities as their job for the planning and zoning. They give advice or help with information because they're at that meeting, so it's not like she's getting paid twice. It's not like she's the CEO and then because she's given us planning advice, she gets planning money at that meeting. So we're actually saving a little money because we're paying her as a CEO, but she can function in both lanes at meeting. So I think what we're trying to say though is we like to figure out a better way to streamline where her money is coming from so that we're not trying to say, oh, we just talked about this as planning. So this is, well, you just spent 42 minutes on planning and 27 minutes on zoning. It just, for us, it became a little more confusing. So we felt that if we were utilizing her in her capacity, that it would just be, these are the hours spent on the job, and we would have a better understanding. But we've had every zoning enforcement officer that I've been on the planning and zoning for over 20 years gets paid for that meeting because they have to be there.
Right, I understand that, but what I'm a little still unclear about is when I was on the zoning commission, I think Tom Scott was the zoning enforcement officer, and he came to the meetings. And if there was something that we needed his information about, he basically told us about various
Right, the
problems that were
report.
coming up in town. And I think he got a flat, I think he got a flat annual payment for that. And there was nothing over and above that he got for attending the meetings, even if he threw out a tidbit about planning, which I don't recall that he did. So do I have it right? She gets the zoning enforcement officer compensation, 15 or whatever it is. And over and above that, she's getting $90 an hour to sit through the meetings.
No,
It's not right.
She's hourly. I think what you're saying is she.
There's no stipend, right? No stipend, just pure hour.
Straight hourly.
Everything.
up to.
Okay. So if she's
You
on,
could look at it as a total package, right? I mean, that's how we drive the number.
but if she's on the site or something, purely as the zoning enforcement hour officer, she bills you for that hourly.
Yeah.
Okay. And if she goes over what you've allocated to the ZEO line, you come ask us for more money
You
or?
would have to, you're.
Okay.
You know, at that point, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, in real world, yes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when we function with another zoning enforcement officer, I mean, you can limit to a point, right? But, you know,
Right.
we need that, it's a higher position for a reason.
Okay. That's helpful.
As years past, is the CEO gone over in their hourly wages and budget?
I don't think we've ever had when we come darn close.
Is there any adjustment if there's just very little building activity and there's not that much for the ZEO to do during the year?
Then it would, and that's where we benefit by the hour, there'd be less work. Winter's pretty lengthy work. We had a pretty busy, very actually, very busy year and, you know, we had you know. Thankfully, it didn't come to this, at least at this point, but we've had the first subdivision. Come to the board and, well, I've been since '08 and we've never had one. It was so out of the norm that I forgot, I had to remind myself, we had a whole nother booklet for subdivision regulations. And it went through so far pretty straightforward, but you know, that's where perhaps an engineer or consultant you know, we might have had to pull from that line to, if we needed somebody.
Okay.
Typically, that would have been refunded by the applicant, but, you know, there's just an event. And, I think a really good example of how important our current person is, and how she helped us through that process, because all but 2 members of the board had never sat through a subdivision.
And the rate, and I guess the only other thing would be is you're knowing you have enough brought before you that if at something where you're anticipating an additional expense. Meaning a consultant or an engineer, which I was looking at one of our analysis sheets from the budget, you know, in 22-23, we had 24,000 on that line that was spent. So obviously something bigger hit. Hopefully we'd be able to.
Is that POCD?
It could have been,
Yeah.
honestly, I can't answer that.
Might have had some Railroad Street, 35 Railroad Street expenses that came out of that.
Yeah.
I can't full.
No, that's fine. I was just thinking.
What was your POC?
There's
Yeah.
part of that for sure.
Yeah.
Do you remember if, when you hire, I forget the name of the firm that assists in the compilation of the POCD? Do you guys pay them or do the selectmen pay him?
Well, it came out of reserve, but then also.
That came out of our, if I may, comes out of our non-recurring capital.
He saved for that over
A period of time, because we know.
We start savings.
Right.
We have.
Okay.
I have to go.
Yeah, that's what I thought that was.
And I do want to say that for us as a board, it is so valuable to have Janelle there, because there's just way too much information, and the amount that we would have to research to then bring to another meeting, because we would have to go look or call the state, or I think that it allows us to have a 2.5 hour meeting, not to have 3 meetings a month. And I want to say that there is a value to the rest of the commissioners to have that ability to have instant information, because we jump around throughout our meetings to so many different topics, it would be almost impossible for us to keep up without having a consultant to help us through those stages of it.
Anything else?
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I know that for myself, especially for our years, it's just great to be heard in the heart of discussing now. And
Yeah.
it's easy to ask questions now. It's hard at a public hearing when you're staring down numbers from every
Right.
commission board entity. So thank you for taking the extra time and effort to do this. It folks well.
All right. Well, here we have two additions to the agenda. So this will be new business 10A. And I'm going to ask Denise as the secretary to read others in new with my draft.
Mine's so much better. Two agenda items would be 10A and 10B. The Board of Selectmen have recommended to the Board of Finance to recommend to town meeting phase 1 of the AEA proposal for service up to $7,500 for the salt shed. That would be 10A. And 10B would be to recommend to town meeting AEA's proposal for phase 2.1 and 2.2 up to $4,500 for town garage wash down area.
A motion. You want to do them separately or can I do them together? Motion to add the two agenda items.
Seconded.
Okay, any discussion?
Can you give a little more insight to the second portion of that? Or do we want to wait till we get to new business to do that? You want
Yeah,
to wait?
wait till we
Alright,
get to new
then I will withhold my discussion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so we've added 10A and 10B. Now the topics. Communications. These can include the two communications from the town clerk who was concerned about space. So those are for our understanding that's there. Not much beyond what's being told. I'm just going to if there's any comments, otherwise we're just gonna move.
I had a question about it. I don't know if anyone here can answer it though. But is there duplication in the documentation? So for instance, if we have all the meeting materials for this meeting today on record, and then next meeting, we have the minutes of this meeting and all the documents again, is that what she's concerned about? That we're taking up space because of duplication of documents?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I don't believe so, but we're,
So the concern is that the physical, that the size of the documents are a problem, not that we are storing them in addition to having them digitized, but we do have everything digitized as well.
It's the
Yes,
physical.
Yes, we still have to have it
physical copies.
Just how
But
I have to-
for instance, in the minutes of the December of the November meeting, those materials for that meeting are, for instance, the Board of Education document is in with the minutes, the materials for the November meeting. And then she prints them out and they're there. But they are also in the minutes of that meeting that we approved for this meeting. So that's where I was wondering.
Yeah, they shouldn't be.
Well,
Yeah.
but that's what she's saying they are, I believe.
Yeah, so I think it's just the volume. I mean, I'm really gonna have to defer, I think, to our first selectman.
Do you want me to tell you why I attach them? Does that help?
Sure.
Minutes about according, you got an FOI issue and a state retention issue. Minutes you have to keep forever.
Correct.
So anything that's attached to the minutes has to be kept forever.
Correct.
Anything discussed at a meeting is a public document. And the documents, depending on what category they're in, have to be kept for a certain number of years. A communication, an email is 2 years, but if that communication deals with policy, it's forever. Balance sheet, income statement, 6 years from the date of the audit. So all of these pieces, all of these attachments have to be made available to the public. So you'd have to have separate notebooks in the vault. And you can call them 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 10 years, whatever the state
Construction
says, right? And the minutes would have to say for the balance sheet for September 30th, see the blue notebook in the vault. So you don't have to attach them, but Dave, you'd have to have,
You would actually break it down into those, what we've done in the past, and you can go into our safe right now and look, and we've just kept everything together. So some of those that we would have been able to remove over the years, we haven't. We've just kept them there because they have come together in that pack. Okay. Perhaps what we need to do is look at our records management a little bit more, but again, there is a whole records retention schedule. I've got it sitting on the corner of my desk. So we probably need to go over that and see what we can pick and choose out of there. But I think in the past, we have found that we've just kept everything because, believe it or not, over the years, we have gone back and looked for things. So
Are we 100% certain that it has to be physical and can't be digitized?
it has to be physical.
Yeah.
Really? In 2024, we
Yeah.
have to have paper.
We still have to have paper.
They haven't gotten to that point.
Going around it.
and if it's attached to the minutes, you
You
can
have to-
never get
Can never get rid of them. Yes, sir. Correct.
Well, I think this is definitely something that needs to be,
Yes.
it's not something that we're gonna decide, it's something we're gonna be provided with whatever down the road.
I would be more than happy to share the records retention schedule with the entire.
Share us.
Well, I'm changing the minutes a little bit. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be interrupting you.
It may-
You'll have
maybe
to
if
advise
the-
me differently on how to do the minutes, because I have to point to where everything is and
Right.
all that.
No changes right now.
No, I don't see
An
it.
understanding.
We can
I
always get a
just-
bigger ball.
Yeah, I just want to add that I think it's very helpful to understand this better, and I want to thank Denise for explaining that. If Joanna has a recommendation to make within that does not prevent us from meeting the statute and the requirements, then we need to hear from her what she is recommending. If she wants us to do something differently, we need her to make that suggestion to us, if there's something we can do differently.
Great.
We will have the opportunity to do that.
Okay. Any oral communication? All right, let's move on to reports. We have our secretary report from November 12th. Do I have a motion to accept?
So many.
Sorry.
Any discussion? All in favor of accepting the November 20th secretary's report?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And as the November 25th special meeting minutes. A motion to accept those minutes,
So move.
second,
A second.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? She passes. We have from the treasurer, August and September. I believe she did. She included everybody that she was not going to be able to be here.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Um, and she did include, a summary. To her 2 packets. Which consist of. Balance sheet for the town of Canaan accounts. The profit and loss monthly. Gives the actual activity for the month. Profit and loss year to date compared to budget. And the balance sheet. Of the reserve fiduciary accounts. And then the general fund summary. Before we receive, I just want to say that I did speak to her about the reserve and the fiduciary. And asked her to see if she can split it. So we have a group fiduciary and a group reserve. So for the future, I have requested that. On behalf of us to make it a little easier to read, because it is a little hard because they are all together. So that is the only thing that I have. But I will entertain a motion to receive the August treasurer's report.
I'll actually move to receive them both, because I do have one question about projected general fund. It makes more sense to discuss it with both, so unless people think it's a bad idea, I would move to receive both
Both
reports.
packets.
Yeah.
Okay, second,
That's it.
discussion.
I just have this one concern about the projected general fund. That's what I'm focusing on. And of course, our memories are fresh that we were quite wrong about what the projected general fund was last year. And I don't want to repeat that. So in the August report, it's about $1,080,000. And in the September report, it's very close to that. It's $1,076,000. And my first reaction was great. And I just want to take a minute to say this about the way the projected general fund should fluctuate, if at all, over the course of the year. We start off the year with an amount in the general fund, and the auditors will not certify that, they'll do a spot audit. So we start the year with confidence in that number. And then because of the decisions we made the prior year, we decided to devote some portion of the general fund to next year's budget. So we made that $150,000 last year. So right off the bat, July 1, we have X dollars in the bank, outside of reserves and all of that money that we can spend for budget. And we commit this year 150 of that. So the projected general fund right off the bat, using those numbers, should be 150 less than what it was on July 1. And absent what I'll just for brevity call absent unusual events, that number should never change. It shouldn't bounce around. And it bounced around a lot last year, I think, as people were getting comfortable with the transition to the new bookkeeping system. But there's a constant we should not lose sight of. That number should not change, except for 2 things. If we receive revenues that we didn't budget for, then that should cause the projected fund to go up. And if we receive and grant any requests for supplementary appropriations, that should make it go down. Other than that, it should be dollar for dollar every month to the penny, because conceptually, nothing should affect that. But sometimes things do affect it. And I noticed one thing that I think is being done, if I'm understanding the numbers, is being done wrong and could easily be fixed. We have one line in the profit and loss statement for taxes. Any taxes we collect goes into that line. Some of those taxes are delinquent taxes from prior years that have no effect on this year's budget. All they can do is something good for us when we collect them. They can increase our projected general fund. But because they're not broken out, they don't do that. And I think my guess is the more accurate projected general fund is about $20,000 more than what is stated on the September report. And I think that's the main reason. So unbudgeted revenue needs to be separated out and treated correctly. And the other thing is we have to make sure that every time we have a supplementary appropriation, we've only had one this year so far, that gets added to the commitment. And we did that for the selectmen's legal fees, legal expenses, $5,000. It's still not in there. So those corrections have to be made currently as we make supplementary appropriations and as we receive unbudgeted revenue. And if that is done, my guess is we're going to see the same projected general fund balance month after month after month, and there won't be any mystery at budget time about how much money do we have available. So I just want to make that point. Last year, we were off by around 300, and about 200 of that was revenue we received that wasn't budgeted. So this builds up over the year and can be a big number. So far, I think if I'm reading Rebecca's reports accurately, she's collected in the neighborhood of $20,000 of revenue from prior years. That should cause the projected general fund to go up, and it's not doing that right now the way we're going through the numbers. So I'm hopeful that error, if it is an error, will be corrected.
I think it's a good idea to separate the two, John. I think that is a really good idea. I don't know if it will actually do what you're hoping it will do, but I still think it's a good idea.
I think I agree. I think the other challenge we have is the levy for the taxes is changing,
Right,
which does change.
right.
And that's in the current, and I started to look at that and then realizing there's a levy's changing. It's not, it's gonna
Right.
veer away from the budget.
It's in this, the
That's
change in the levies,
29,000, it's gone up about 29,000
right.
from our budget.
And that's in the same category as collecting past due taxes. It's not in the annual budget for this year, but it does affect our cash. And right now, it's not being reflected, as I understand the reports, in the projected general fund. And that's going to lead us to an inaccurate number at the end of the year unless we fix it.
Is this something we can ask our auditors for an opinion?
Yeah,
King,
yeah. I think we could. Absolutely.
I think rather than guessing, maybe get them, get an opinion from them.
How to. Yeah, I'm sure that is presented. Any other comments? All those in favor of receiving,
Aye.
those? Motion passes. We received the August and September. And I do know that the King and King is, they're aiming for January.
Right.
They have the,
I'm sorry, we may have to file for an extension.
yeah,
We will be filing for.
and then I entertain a motion to table the receipt of the October, which is on the next page, to the next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Opposed? Table to January. We have the tax collectors report for November, which came out this morning. I did reach out to Rebecca to make a change, because the current levy that was on this page here was not accurate, and she did fix it. So for the November.
So the
Is-
report,
Is the fix reflected in this document?
It is reflected in the November.
Okay.
okay,
I was trying to understand the numbers and sent her an email and asked her, and she said, yes, that there was, she had the levy at 5,000,003, and it should have been 5,000,002. So it is correct.
Okay, so this is correct.
It is supposed to. It is supposed to match the beginning tax levy here is supposed to be what is here. So I will entertain a motion to receive the November tax collectors.
So make,
Second,
Second.
discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carl,
Aye, yes,
thank you.
Yep.
Right. Passes, and then we have the Board of Ed. Motion to receive the Board of Ed,
So moved.
second. Sure. Any discussion? Only thing is, I'm gonna comment again. Of course, it's not in. I asked Michelle to work towards it. Explaining if it's 1.5 million here. And she should show 1.5 million being spent in the town's reports. If not, there's deposit in transit, things in transit. Yes, so I asked her to just report that in a memo to us. To reconcile. All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion passes. Selectmen.
I'm going to save you some time for this evening. Okay, just quickly. We are going to be in the second round of the TRIPS grant application, which you've heard before. We have sent a questionnaire out through the Fall Village Forum. Thank you again. The 107 Main Street property lease. We are going to get some things together, including the new contract, a new lease, I should say, done by our town attorney. We have selected someone for that space, and it sounds very, very promising. Just a rec commission, if you know anyone who's interested in serving on a rec commission, they do need members on the rec commission. And just a reminder, the holiday extravaganza is Saturday, December 14th from 4 to 6 p.m. There's a lot of good things that'll be happening that day. Still working with the automated speed enforcement cameras. There's still quite a bit, as I explained during the Selectmen's meeting. There is a lot of hoops that we would have to jump through, but I think it's worth looking into the program. We should be getting new cameras relatively soon. They were supposed to come up from the town of Warren, but they had to put some new motherboards or what have you in those to bring them up to date. The capital plan, the workshop, if you're ready for some discussion now regarding it, the chair and I have spoke about breaking it down into two separate meetings, one for department heads and one for commissions. And it would look like we're looking at the 16th, Monday the 16th at 9:30 a.m. to meet with all the department heads. I'll put that out, but it'll be a workshop. And we will tell them what we're looking for in the future as we move quickly into our budget season, and if they're feeling know where they should be. And for the commissions, we're just going to have to, we're moving into the holiday season, to be quite honest with you, so we're going to try to capture them one evening, obviously, and get them all together. And we may find ourselves doing 2 different or 3 different ones, or at least offering it along with Zoom. So if that meets with you, I will put that out, and it'll be a workshop. So we'll look at that. talked about the lighting at 107 Main Street, the driveway in there. We're going to try to do the best we can, or we are going to be dark sky compliant. I have an electrician who's coming down and looking at it, as I mentioned before. Under old business, just quickly, 35 Railroad Street, we're moving forward. Economic development, we just talked about 107. We are waiting for a letter of intent from our new leasee, hopefully, and then again, we'll get together with the town attorney to put together that lease. I now have the Wi-Fi at the transfer station. I now have Xfinity involved, and matter of fact, we'll be talking about CDN a little bit, whether or not they can provide the service instead of Xfinity or the or Frontier. Cobble Road, Culvert and Bridge. Again, I spoke to the chair about our culvert project, and I know that you are well familiar with the culvert project. We're still moving forward on that, looking for any possible way to finance it. We're paying 50%. The bridge is 100% financed by the federal government. We had spent our $2,000 to have Cardinal put together that application and submit it for us. So that's on its way. There was some question about the Canaan Mountain Bridge, and subsequently it is not in such disrepair that the federal government would pay for 100% replacement costs. So we'll again, with what we've looked at, if you remember, we've okayed monies to look at other bridges, and we'll probably come to you again to look at it, to have the Canaan Mountain Bridge looked at also again, and see what we can do with it. Then again, you have it on already. AEA will be requesting for your recommendation also to send it to town meeting. We were substituted the town meeting along with some other things, but AEA, there was 2 requests for the salt shed and for the wash bay or wash area. Would you like any more detail on that?
Okay, is now the time for that, or we wait till?
Let's wait till we get to the,
Okay,
that's all right.
that's fine with me. And that's what I have for you.
Thank you.
Any update on Railroad Street?
We're still moving along with it. Is that Amy? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yes.
Still moving along with it, Amy. Hopefully we will, as we move along. I don't feel at liberty to share exactly everything because some of it is legal, but we still are moving in a positive direction.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? Old business. We still have scheduled meetings of commissions and organizations.
I'm only the ex officio member, and excuse me, John, I don't mean to speak out of turn here, but do you think that we can get some of that done with the department heads? That we would be able to get that information together and perhaps share it at a later time, because we are moving very, very quickly into that budget season, and anything that I think that we can glean from them that we may not have the ability to do before we actually
And we're
get
gonna have to
get in with both
We're
feet.
gonna have King and King here
Right.
Right.
on January, so I would say we stop where
yeah.
we're at with it.
But I think we,
Take it back up January, February,
Right.
if need be, but we're gonna be right into budget. So.
right, so that's why I think that we might be able to glean between the chair.
To explain that we're looking for,
Right. If
I look for realistic numbers, more appropriate numbers rather than just.
that's if your board would be satisfied with that, because I don't think we're ever gonna have time to call each
Yeah.
commission and each department head here.
What we have now.
The only other group I really wanted to hear from, is we've heard from P and Z, we've heard from the fire department, we've heard from the rec commission. The only other group I wanted to hear from about their needs, grant possibilities, etc., is really the library. So maybe you folks have other agencies you want to hear from, but I think we've hit all the major ones except the library. And I agree, next week's gonna be too, or next month's gonna be too busy.
Unless you're your nonprofit that you would be talking to.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a grant that we give,
yeah,
right, so I'm not sure if it would fall into the category,
Which category?
the category of, uh, town fund, or it is a grant, so, and it is a nonprofit, and it's not really a town function, it's not a town.
No, no, but the idea was that we want to make sure that when we appropriate monies for a nonprofit or for the town departments, that we know enough about their situation that we're making wise decisions. So I don't really see a distinction between the nonprofits and with the road crew, for example, we're appropriating town money for both.
One is a town entity and one isn't, though.
But they're both on the receiving end of town money. So I don't think the distinction you're drawing, Steve, makes much difference in terms of Board of Finance recommending to the town how much money it should spend on this and that. And it could be that the library could just send us a letter about what their grant possibilities are. That was really the only question I had.
Do you want to just meet with them directly, John?
You mean at a time other than one of our normal meetings?
No, I meant for you personally to make inquiries since you have specific questions of them.
Yeah, well, yeah, we could probably do that. We'd probably work something like that out. So we don't have to take up time at a meeting.
all right,
But we're not gonna do it next month anyhow, so that's
Because we're gonna have both feet in budget season.
Right.
As in February.
right.
So.
okay. So we will. No action on that. The Board of Finance policies, I haven't let them go yet, but, what I'd like to do, I don't know if anybody's, but probably not January, maybe February, is just gather and have maybe a special meeting or a workshop, or just kind of just go through some of them, pull together whatever we know and kind of make sure we're all on the same page of where we're, and either pull out, has been referenced, prior minutes, prior motions that would be appropriate, and just more or less catalog and put them together.
It
If
sounds good.
That sound like a good plan? We'll do it. Probably not till February, though. I think we have enough between now and then. Right, so we'll aim for that. And we have, on the capital plan we've talked about, we're going to, first Selectman and I discussed some opportunities, how to put a plan together versus, we have reserves. I don't disagree there. We have reserves. But how do we put it together in a document that everybody can know how much? I think it's fair that the townspeople know that, a new truck costs X, or ambulance costs Y, and we have a really good idea of where are we at, and is it gonna hit our general reserve, or should we be saving some more, or down the road, if we get money in that we need to maybe move into the separate, capital. We'll have some discussions with the various departments and commissions to make sure that they have defined their anticipated expenses.
What you're looking for more detailed information? Is that what the item, the system that Louis brought up?
Mhm.
That actually, that's breaking it down and telling you what's going where and how much money.
I think
I just don't want to be redundant.
no, I think the gray area is scheduling time.
Right.
I think that's the gray area. And I think that was the point that, the one to talk to Lou when he was talking about, like, I think we're not changing what we're doing. We're just saying we want to put another layer on it that says, hey, Tim says we need another dump truck, what year do we think that would be? Right, and then we can start to show have that transparency that over the next 10 years or whatever, that these are the timeframes.
that makes
So I think it's just a schedule thing.
Yeah.
It's not we're not
Yeah, I just
changing
don't
the
wanna
system.
spend a lot of
That's how I
time
understood all of it.
and
Right.
doing the same thing over again.
And by putting the scheduling down and dollar signs beside it, we'll find out if we have any reserves that are just totally inadequate.
I mean, the other thing that would be useful out of this exercise would be that
Good.
if that money that we have put aside for those things legitimately all happen to hit the same year, it's gonna be awful, even though it's there. It'd be awful to buy a new ambulance, a new dump truck, replace the compactor, the transfer station, all like at the same time, because even though we might have it, it just would look awful, right? So we're trying to figure out what the proper schedule would be for that, so we sort of blend it and smooth it over a period of time, perhaps, if possible.
Another way of,
So-
of seeing it is that Lou's right, we have a system, but we don't have a plan to support the system in a way. You know, the system's there, but we don't have a plan to fund those items. And so if we want to create a plan and you say for item one, we anticipate in 10 years, we're going to need $500,000 and we have 30,000 in the cash reserve. Well, how much are we going to need from, or how much can we afford from the town each year in order to get to where we need to be? So I think the system is good, but there's no plan to support the system.
I think that you and I, having both spoke at length about this, I think that realistically, we won't have it all ready for this year. It'll be something that we'll be looking at for 26 in reality. Just by the time we get all the numbers together and by the time we decide what format we want to put it into.
But I think it'll be good. I'm concerned, honestly, my other concern is, are we missing something that's not being reserved for or planned for? And that's my concern.
Can I make a
Yeah.
comment?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
guess we'll.
And Steve has brought up a couple times that we may not have enough money to evaluate, you know, bridges and culverts. I remember maybe last year, Steve, you mentioned that there is a need for more, you know, funding in that area, our roads and bridges. Am I wrong?
And
You're correct.
You're correct.
You're correct.
Yeah, my comment, is directly about that. There's a bridge maintenance and repair reserve. There's roughly 17,000 there. But we've identified 6 separate bridges. Some of them are, and some of them we can kick the can down the road a little bit further on. There's nothing that, there's no guideline within that one item. And there's some other ones, there's one here, rent account. Do we know what that is, or?
that might be a
I'm
fiduciary.
not sure what it is, Tim, it's in the list here.
I think this is, and I'm only gonna, because I think we're all on the same page.
We can do just something for Steve.
Yeah.
We just
Yeah, oh, yeah.
have to decide what.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I wanna work.
Mhm.
So we'll start drafting.
That's exactly it.
We'll pull the data together. Data collection is gonna be half the battle, and then we gotta pull it into a presentation. But,
Get you to our heads together.
yeah. Good.
We need,
Alright, so that's the plan there. Any other old business? Suspense items? None, new business. We have 2 motions. First one. For the spectra notes. Please.
To recommend to town meeting up to $7,500 for phase 1 of the AEA proposal. For the salt shed, sorry.
Have a motion to recommend. John,
Hey,
second.
Second,
Steve?
just a question. This comes under the road crew budget? Where does this fall in our budget?
This is in our non-recurring capital fund. We have put money aside for a number of years for a salt shed.
Oh, I see.
Okay, and it comes back to actually some historically. It comes back to we've needed a salt shed for quite some time. We've looked at several different designs. And we're going back to look at phase 1 fund. Yeah, phase 1 and 2, which are.
So. I've already done quite a bit of work for us, in regards to this salt. This would cover some, thank you. We'll cover some value engineering that our committee has kind of identified, to reduce the overall cost.
So the funds are there.
Okay, so we're gonna ask the town to approve using funds in a reserve for this expenditure.
Yes, in the non-recurring capital funds.
It's for architecture and engineering for phase one. How many phases are there?
Okay, that's a good question. Phase one is design and development. So, phase two is construction documentation. So we're not really, until we get a design that we all can agree on, that we think that will work for us, we really don't want to implement phase two.
So phase two is not actually building, it's documenting
No.
what would be built.
We do have 115,000 in that salt shed fund.
Any wild sense of what this thing's gonna cost after all the plans are made and you build it?
That's why we're value engineering it, John. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in.
Do you have a bookend? You don't even have a bookend? Okay,
Couldn't answer that, John.
okay.
I'm far enough out of the construction to, realize what.
There's a lot of,
So this puts us on the path to do that work.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, if I may, okay, this is something that we've needed for a number of years. We have not been cited by DEP in the past, but they certainly do want us to, it's something that would protect our salt and sand.
Is this something that once you have zeroed in after phase one on what you want built and how you want it built, is this something that you send out for bid for architectural drawings, and then do you also send it out for bid for construction, or do you approach this in a different way?
Phase one would give us the close enough for working documents to be able to put it out to bid. It also, I think, would what I'm really looking for is something we can maybe apply for some grants for. You know, if we can find a matching grant, boy, we could build a really nice one up there for $230,000.
There's, the thing we're looking at is there's several different options available for building this, for this construction. So once the engineer does his study and tells us what we're capable of doing, then we can decide which building would be best.
Okay,
All right,
this is only phase one, right?
yeah,
Yep,
phase one.
yep.
So recommended town meeting, phase one, up to 7,500 from the salt shed reserve. I don't have to get the number from, yeah, it's that.
For the purpose of,
For purpose of, design and development. Also salt shed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. For two. 10B.
ten B is recommend to recommend to town meeting AEA's proposal, phase 2.1 and 2.2, up to $4,500 for the town group wash down area to come from the environmental cleanup reserve. Okay.
I'll take a motion to. I'll move. Second. Seconds. Discussion.
Discussion. One quick, you're sitting across from me. Does the firehouse have a wash down place down there?
Yes,
Yes.
Is there a chance we could use it?
yes.
You're talking about something I don't know, so if Jim says yes, and he's the chief, I'll say yes.
Because there's a separator tank there. That's the important thing. They don't want whatever you wash off your truck go out into the swamp. It has
Oh, I
to
see what
go
you're talking
into a
about.
tank. Because the oil separated and then you gotta pay somebody to pick it up.
So the fire department does have it.
Yes,
It's a real tanks in the parking lot.
Could we use it? Could the
yes,
town trucks use it?
yes.
So maybe we don't need to duplicate one.
We still need money. because I don't have any drain.
Well, I'm thinking lawnmowers, I'm thinking.
Yeah. It's accidental versus intentional.
There's actually no drains in the garage right now. So when I bring a truck in there covered in snow, it sits in where it's warm, it melts off. I come in tomorrow morning, and there's 2 inches of water. on
Yeah, I've been in
the floor
there when it was
because
like-
there's nowhere for it to go.
So even if you had free reign to the wash area at the fire department, that's not gonna meet your needs.
That's correct.
It's just because of the.
I mean, we could use it, yes, I could take the truck down there and wash it, but that doesn't really fix the.
If I may, and I just to interject, this is something that we've looked at for a number of years also and kind of kicked the can down the road. And again, when we look at our environmental concerns, this certainly would be one of the environmental concerns. And we truly do need something like that. Again, when we bring in a truck off the road, driving it down, it would be dirty by the time it got back up Route 7 and into town. So
And what does phase 2.1 and 2.2 involve?
I'm going to
Okay.
look over at Chris, who has his paperwork right in front of him.
Because I've never looked at this before. So there's a existing conditions phase, that would be 2.1 to go and figure out where the best place to put it. Any potential obstructions, utilities, whatever. And then the design and development phase would be 2.2. Again, we don't want to go beyond that. In the town approval phase or construction phase until we get what we think.
Would work $4,500 covers both those phases.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any other business? Public comment? Greg?
Greg Marlowe, just wanted to bring up, because not everybody is here going for the selectmen, but I brought this up as the board of selectmen about really the salt shed, not the wash thing. That makes sense. I know there's not any drains there, but the salt shed, the current town highway garage sits on very valuable village acreage, which we can't make more of. So for repurposing down the road, I would almost hate to spend money on a salt shed, $100-some thousand or up to whatever it's gonna cost to use there when, long range planning in the town. That could be a great spot for affordable housing, or maybe another project that I shelf on the top of my head in the village center. We had spoke years ago about the possibility of what it may look like moving the highway garage to the town farm property, wherever it would best fit there. Obviously, that's a lot of money to move it, but maybe there could be a purchase of the current land that could offset it, grants, a combination thereof. And I think it could be maybe short-sighted to take valuable village property and make it less enticement to move forward in the future to reutilize that property. So I would like the Board of Finance to hear that. I shared it with the Board of Selectmen already. I just thought your board should maybe hear that, to at least kick around and think long range as well. Thank you.
That prompts a question. If you talk to AEA, are their plans and design thoughts gonna be specific to the existing site?
And that's my concern.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Yes, entertain a motion to.
So many.
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
John Hill?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.